Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 20 Questions with ChatGPT. If you're wondering how many of these we've done or how the format works, check the video description. While you're there, please like, subscribe, and share. Recycling's not the only thing we're trying to promote around here. As the name suggests, my guest for the next 20 questions is ChatGPT. Welcome back.
It's good to be here again, Taryn. I hope I'm ready to sort fact from fiction.
Tonight's topic is one that's been on my mind a lot lately. Recycling. I've been thinking about what really happens to the stuff I toss in the blue bin, and whether it's actually helping or just making me feel better.
A very common question, and a good one.
Thank you. And where are you joining us from this time, ChatGPT?
According to your prompt, I'm in a recycling facility, rendered clean and futuristic.
Any weird smells?
No smells, just the hum of conveyor belts and the quiet hope of saving the planet.
That's oddly reassuring. And with that, let's dive in.
Yes, let's.
What are the benefits of recycling?
Recycling has a bunch of benefits, starting with the fact that it helps reduce the amount of waste we send to landfills and incinerators. That alone helps cut down on pollution, saves space, and reduces greenhouse gas emissions. Recycling also conserves natural resources, like trees, water, and minerals, because we're reusing materials instead of harvesting or mining new ones. Plus, recycling uses less energy in many cases, especially with materials like aluminum. On top of that, recycling supports jobs in the recycling and manufacturing industries. It's basically a way of giving materials a second life while lightening our environmental footprint.
Can recycling really help solve environmental problems, or is reducing consumption more important?
Recycling definitely helps, but it's not the full solution. Think of it like this. Recycling is a good backup plan, but reducing consumption tackles the problem at its source. Recycling saves energy and resources, but making, shipping, and disposing of stuff in the first place still takes a toll on the environment. Using less, especially cutting down on single-use plastics or unnecessary packaging, prevents pollution before it starts. Ideally, we do both. Reduce first, then recycle what's left. It's like cleaning a leaky sink. Recycling is mopping the floor, but reducing consumption is fixing the leak. Both matter, but one solves the problem.
How much impact does individual recycling actually have?
Individual recycling does make a difference, but it works best as part of a larger system. One person recycling might not feel world-changing, but when millions of people do it consistently, it adds up fast. For example, recycling a single aluminum can saves enough energy to power a laptop for a few hours. Multiply that by billions of cans and now you're talking real impact. Plus, individual actions set a cultural tone. When people see their neighbors or communities recycling, it normalizes the behavior. Still, the biggest changes happen when individuals push for better policies and corporate responsibility alongside personal effort.
By weight, how much plastic is estimated to be in our oceans compared to the weight of all oceanic aquatic life?
Estimates vary, but a striking comparison often cited comes from a 2016 report by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which projected that by 2050, the ocean could contain more plastic than fish by weight if current trends continue. Right now, it's estimated that there are over 150 million metric tons of plastic in the ocean. For comparison, the total biomass of oceanic fish is roughly in the same range, around 1 to 2 billion metric tons, but that number includes a lot of uncertainty. While we're not there yet, the idea that plastic might outweigh marine life one day is a serious wake-up call.
Are there viable solutions to cleaning up ocean plastic?
There are some promising efforts to clean up ocean plastic, but it's a huge challenge. Projects like the Ocean Cleanup are working to remove plastic from places like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch using large, floating collection systems. Other groups focus on river systems, which are major sources of plastic entering the oceans, by placing barriers or using automated devices to catch waste before it reaches the sea. But cleanup alone isn't enough. The real key is stopping plastic at the source by reducing production, improving waste management globally, and designing products that don't end up in the water to begin with.
Why is recycling plastic so complicated?
Recycling plastic is complicated because there are so many different types of plastics, each with its own chemical makeup. Some melt easily and can be reused. Others don't break down well, or can even contaminate batches of recyclable material. To make it more confusing, not all recycling centers accept the same types of plastic. Labels like the chasing arrows don't always mean something is actually recyclable where you live. Plus, plastic is cheap to make new, which makes recycled plastic less competitive. All of that adds up to a system that's more confusing than it should be for most people.
Why do recycling rules change from city to city?
Recycling rules change from city to city mostly because of differences in local recycling facilities, equipment, and markets. Not every city has the same technology to sort materials, and what's recyclable in one place might be trash in another simply because there's no buyer for that material nearby. Costs also play a role. If it's too expensive to process certain items, cities might not accept them. On top of that, recycling programs are often managed by local governments or private companies with their own guidelines. It's frustrating, but it really comes down to infrastructure economics and sometimes just local policy choices.
What percentage of recycled plastic material is rejected?
The percentage of recycled plastic that gets rejected varies by location, but in many places, it's surprisingly high. Studies in the U.S. suggest that around 25 to 30% of what goes into recycling bins ends up rejected, often because of contamination, or because the plastic type isn't recyclable locally. Some plastic, like thin films, bags, or certain mixed plastics, just doesn't have a stable market, so it's discarded even if it's technically recyclable. Cleaner, well-sorted plastic like clear PET bottles has a better chance. The good news is that as technology improves, some facilities are starting to reduce that rejection rate.
How clean do my recyclables need to be, and is rinsing them worth the water?
Your recyclables don't need to be sparkling clean, but they should be free of most food residue. Think quick rinse, rather than hand wash with soap. A dirty container, especially one with leftover food, can contaminate an entire batch of recycling, making it harder or impossible to process. As for water use, a quick rinse usually takes very little, especially if you do it right after washing dishes or using leftover water. In most cases, the environmental benefit of recycling outweighs the small amount of water used. Basically, just scrape, swish, and shake it out, which is good enough for most recycling programs.
What's the deal with the chasing arrows symbol?
The chasing arrows symbol, the one that looks like a triangle made of arrows, is widely recognized as the recycling symbol, but it's a bit misleading. Originally, it was designed in the 1970s for paper recycling, but over time it's been slapped on tons of plastic products. The problem is that on plastics, the number inside the arrows refers to the type of plastic resin, not whether it's actually recyclable in your area. People often see the arrows and assume it means recycle this, but that's not always true. It's one of the main reasons recycling can be so confusing.
What's wish cycling, and why is it bad?
Wish cycling is when people toss something into the recycling bin hoping it'll be recycled, even if they're not sure it belongs there. It usually comes from good intentions. People don't want to throw things away, but it actually causes problems. If too many non-recyclable or dirty items end up in the bin, they can contaminate entire batches of recyclables, making it more likely that the whole load gets trashed. It also increases costs for recycling facilities because they have to spend extra time and resources sorting or discarding the wrong stuff. Basically, wish cycling turns good intentions into recycling headaches.
Did the plastics industry promote anti-litter campaigns to shift blame from manufacturers to consumers?
Yes, there's a lot of evidence that the plastics and packaging industries helped promote anti-litter campaigns to shift responsibility onto consumers. A famous example is the Crying Indian ad from the early 1970s, backed by Keep America Beautiful, which had strong ties to packaging companies. These campaigns encouraged people not to litter, which is good in itself, but they also conveniently distracted from the growing problem of single-use packaging being produced in the first place. Instead of focusing on reducing plastic production, the message was, "It's your fault if this ends up in the environment," steering attention away from manufacturers.
Which countries recycle the most and the least, and how do we in the U.S. compare?
Countries like Germany, Austria, and Wales lead the world in recycling, with rates over 50%, sometimes closer to 60%. Taiwan and South Korea are also recycling champs, especially with plastics. The US? Not so much, we're hovering around 30 to 35% for overall recycling, and plastic recycling is way lower, closer to 5 to 9%. Some countries struggle even more, especially where waste systems are limited. Basically, we've got some catching up to do. The good news is we can learn from places that are doing it right, and push for better systems here at home while we're at it.
What U.S. states have the best recycling programs?
Some of the top-performing U.S. states for recycling are California, Oregon, Vermont, and Maine. These states have strong recycling laws, bottle deposit programs, and curbside collection systems that make it easier for people to recycle properly. California, for example, has been a leader with its ambitious recycling goals and infrastructure. Oregon was actually the first to introduce a bottle deposit law back in the 1970s. Maine has also made headlines with extended producer responsibility laws, requiring companies to help cover recycling costs. Basically, the states with strong environmental policies and incentives tend to have the best recycling track records.
Have any billionaires attempted to tackle the recycling challenge?
Yes, a few billionaires have stepped into the recycling and waste reduction world, but usually with mixed results. Bill Gates, through Breakthrough Energy Ventures, has invested in startups working on advanced recycling technologies. Richard Branson has voiced support for environmental initiatives, including tackling ocean plastic, though mostly through partnerships rather than direct recycling projects. Elon Musk hasn't been particularly active in recycling, but has focused on sustainable energy in general. Interestingly, it's often smaller entrepreneurs or nonprofits leading innovative recycling efforts, while billionaires tend to fund broader sustainability projects. Recycling doesn't always have the flashy appeal of rockets or electric vehicles.
Is it better to reuse or recycle?
It's almost always better to reuse than recycle. Reuse keeps materials in circulation without the extra energy and resources needed to break them down and make something new. For example, using a reusable water bottle saves way more energy and materials than recycling dozens of plastic ones. Recycling is still important, especially for things like aluminum or paper, but it's kind of like the backup plan. Reuse first, recycle what you can't reuse. The old saying reduce, reuse, recycle is actually listed in the right order for environmental impact, with reuse sitting comfortably in the middle as the smarter everyday move.
Are biodegradable plastics the solution?
Biodegradable plastics sound like a perfect fix, but they're not a silver bullet. While they're designed to break down more quickly than traditional plastics, they often need very specific conditions, like high heat or industrial composting facilities, to do so. Most people toss them in regular recycling or trash bins, where they don't degrade properly and can even mess up recycling streams. Plus, biodegradable plastics are usually made from plant materials, which still require land, water, and energy to produce. Biodegradable plastics can be part of the solution, but only if we improve waste systems and make sure they're disposed of correctly.
What happens to glass when I recycle it?
When you recycle glass, it gets collected, sorted by color, and cleaned to remove any impurities. Then it's crushed into small pieces called cullet. This cullet is mixed with raw materials like sand, soda ash, and limestone, then melted down in a furnace to make new glass products. The great thing about glass is that it can be recycled endlessly without losing quality, so bottles can become new bottles over and over again. Recycling glass saves energy compared to making glass from raw materials and reduces the need to mine more sand, making it a pretty sustainable material to recycle.
How can we better incentivize recycling at individual and community levels?
Incentivizing recycling works best when it's easy and rewarding for people. At the individual level, programs like deposit return schemes, where you get money back for returning bottles and cans, encourage more recycling. Communities can offer perks like discounts on waste collection fees or rewards for neighborhoods that recycle well. Education plays a huge role too. When people understand the why behind recycling, they're more likely to participate. Technology can help as well, with apps that track recycling habits or smart bins that give instant feedback. Ultimately, making recycling convenient, rewarding, and socially supported can boost participation significantly.
Finally, and once again with a generative AI angle, what are some ways AI can be applied to improving recycling efficiencies?
AI is already starting to make a big difference in recycling. One way is by using computer vision and machine learning to sort recyclables more accurately and quickly than humans can. Cameras and sensors scan materials on conveyor belts, identifying and separating plastics, metals, and paper with fewer mistakes. AI can also optimize collection routes, reducing fuel use and emissions from garbage trucks. On a bigger scale, AI helps predict waste generation patterns, so cities can plan better and avoid overflow. Plus, it can assist in designing smarter packaging that's easier to recycle. AI's role is growing, making recycling more efficient and cost-effective.
I think we can all agree that making recycling more efficient and cost-effective in the future is something we'd all like to see. A good note to end on. Thanks, ChatGPT, as always.
You're welcome, Taryn, and thank you for asking the right questions.
I do try. And to you watching at home, thanks for joining us for 20 Questions with ChatGPT. If you've got suggestions for future topics, or if you've just been waiting for an excuse to comment, go for it. I'll be reading. Also, there are plenty of other videos on my YouTube channel, so take a look around. And if you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and share generously, like you're giving away candy on Halloween. Good night.